good? Yeah, she told me to know. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this school board meeting to order. Could I please get a roll call?
Don Woodworth. Jack Sapia.
Here.
Savage.
She's here.
Nice. Kate Knudsen.
Here.
Shauna Manthorn.
Here.
Mark Sherwood.
Here.
Kim McCormick.
Here.
Bree Woodworth.
Here.
Paula Kane.
Could everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, which is over here? Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of meeting minutes. Do we have non-public to approve? Okay. While we are passing out the non-public, let's go ahead and do the public ones first, please.
Thank you. Thanks. Make a motion, we accept the minutes of July 20th, 2023.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Any discussion? All those in favor? Yeah, you can't.
No.
Opposed and abstained. So 7-0-2. All right, and then you also have some non-public meeting minutes that we need to work out.
Make a motion to accept July 20th non-public meeting minutes.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dawn. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained. 7-0-2. All right,
Would you please pass it back?
do we have any delegates or individuals? Could I please get a motion to move the 30-minute delegates and individuals time to the end of the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mark. Do I have a second? Second by Bree. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained. We have to now.
Oh, is that?
It's a new
rule?
policy.
I was
Part of
gonna
it.
ask why. and-
Yeah, so it came down from the state and we have to adopt it. And so the policy was approved, so it's now part of the policy.
So was it always gonna be at the end, or if we have none, it moves to the end?
So if we had 3 people come up and it say we had 27 minutes left, then that 27 minutes gets moved to
Goes,
the end.
okay,
We
thank
have to lay out 30 minutes.
Thank you for that detailed explanation, Madam Chair.
So what happens at the end?
So
And if nobody's here, do we have to sit here for 27? We're able to just.
we're able to leave, but you have to, it's pretty much you have to give
Sure.
ample opportunity. So if there's, at the end of the meeting, we moved it, there's no one here, then we're able to adjourn the meeting. So we don't have to sit here and wait for 27 minutes, but it's just the opportunity is what that comes down to. Student rep?
Well, hello, everybody. It's great to be back. I've been away enjoying my summer, so I'm just gonna ease back into it today. So, Sandown Central's building, And the groundskeepers are getting closer to being ready for students and staff to return. The grounds crew at Sandown Central made repairs to their playground equipment. Sandown Central's kindergarten camp is currently taking place this week. Danville custodians are working hard to prepare instructional spaces for the upcoming school year. The new boiler installation at Danville is progressing well. The extended school year program wrapped up for district students Thursday, August 3rd. Danville thanks Pollard and the high school for hosting the program. Also, a thank you to the staff who worked with the students this summer. Sandown North had a great Title I summer camp that ran from July 3rd to July 27th. Thank you to the teachers and Ms. Gwansi for ensuring the program's success. Each student went home with a selection of books to encourage reading over the summer. The classrooms and hallways are ready to welcome staff and students back into the building. Thank you to Sandown North's custodians. Sandown North is looking forward to the first grade transition camp, which is running August 14th and ending today. Atkinson Academy is just about ready to welcome students for the 2023-2024 school year. Thank you to the custodial staff for their hard work, moving, cleaning, painting, and more. Teachers have also been working hard getting their rooms ready for students. Kindergarten transition camp ran this week, starting August 14th and ending today. Pollard thanks the school board, SAU staff, and the Plasto community for all their support in the last year in preparing for the school year ahead. Pollard has been hiring some great new teachers and paraprofessionals, and they're happy to have them join the Pollard community. Construction at the middle school has been wrapping up. An open house will be Thursday, August 24th, for all 3 grades. At the open house, parents and students get to see their schedules, familiarize themselves with the building, and meet their new teachers. Timberlane Middle School has hired some amazing people and are looking forward to integrating them into the middle school family. At the high school, freshman orientation will take place August 23rd at 6 p.m. This will be a great opportunity for 9th graders to see their new schedule and see what it will look like and see where their classes are in the new building. They'll meet their classmates and teachers. High school sport registration for spring and winter sports is now open and can be found under the athletics section of the TRHS website. The high school student council had a meeting. Discussion on dress codes and student leadership took place with the administration. The student council is also planning on putting together a welcoming environment for the first week of school through different events. Spirit Week was also a topic of discussion. Band camp has been taking place this week and it is ending tomorrow. And lastly, senior parking has been addressed. Junior parking availability will be worked out very soon. Juniors, make sure to keep an eye on your emails as the parking lottery will be sent out and spots will be distributed. Only some juniors will get spots as there is limited parking. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is project updates. Come on down.
Good evening, everyone. You have
Evening, Carl.
Good evening.
Madam Chair. You have my executive summary, which is quite lengthy. I don't think I need to read through it. I think you've had it long enough that you can see anything. If you have any questions about anything that was on that report, please feel free to let me know and ask them right now. I've also have EEI here. They have a couple of things that the construction committee thought they should be here to discuss. Number one, the CMU report has come in. I don't know if we want to touch on the Atkinson Belfry report or if we want, and there was also a solar option that we want to consider for moving forward with, so.
Wait. Just let him finish and then.
Yeah, no, I thought he was done.
So with that, yes, sir.
All right, Jack. Now go ahead.
It's out of choke collar. No, I think it is well worth mentioning the gentleman we had come in and talk about the bell tower. And that was like one of the greatest moments that I've had around here, period. And I think the solar panel is worth discussing tonight, so.
So since I wrote my executive summary, we've had a report from EEI. They brought in a company called Timber Frame Restoration.
Preservation timber frame.
Preservation Timber Frame. They are the Northeast experts on old buildings. They knew exactly who built the 1803 building at Atkinson just by the mortise and tender and all the way they make the connections on all the old timbers. was very impressed that this was one of the only buildings he's ever seen made out of white oak, 100% white oak, and he said you never see that. And the only other buildings that were similar to this are over at Phillips Exeter. It's a very historical building, and they came up with a few recommendations to do the immediate repairs that need to be done to it. Mike?
So I'm just Mike Davey with EEI, and I have with me Chris Roy, who's been the site superintendent for all the work that's happened since April break here, and Brad Prescott, who is the architect designing a lot of the work that has been done and is continuing. And I have a quick presentation on PowerPoint, if that's all right.
Yep.
Kind of goes through what we've been doing and what is coming next. So this year, utilizing a combination of federal funds, energy efficiency rebates, and then CIP funds that were in the budget, we've been working with the district to complete some major construction projects. Those have included a new ventilation system at the classrooms at the middle school, new boiler plants that will provide heat for Danville, the high school, and the PAC. LED lights, which is just starting at all the elementary schools and this building. We cleaned the ductwork in serving most of the classrooms at the middle school. We replaced 3 roofs at Atkinson this summer, and we did 75% of the roof at the middle school. So it was a massive amount of work that has gone on since we last met. Here's a picture of the old ventilation system at the middle school. It didn't have a lot of things that we like. One is energy recovery. So with the old system, air basically came in, was heated up or cooled, and then exhausted out. The new system and it also mixed supply air with return air. So you'd have, air that leaves the building and then come back in through that unit. We put in a system with energy recovery and 100% outside air for ventilation for the classrooms at the middle school. In doing that, we also cleaned all the ductwork that serves these rooms, and probably the first time that ductwork has ever been cleaned. So we have some pictures of what that did. Because we added all these features to the unit, we couldn't just take that unit off and put one back. We had to put in a much larger unit. So we had to take off all this section of roof and then put in new structural steel to support the heavier unit. And this is what it looks like from down below. Ductwork drops in, supply and return from the unit. We had to get a special crane out of Boston because there's such a long reach on that middle school. And with the heavy weight of the unit, that was brought in. Then to the right is the new ductwork that was insulated after we for energy efficiency after we put and noise as well after the new unit went in. We also simultaneously did new roofing in that area, so we had a crew here most of the summer doing the roofing. There's another picture of that.
Oh my
And
goodness.
this is the before ductwork. It's a little dusty on the bottom, you can tell, and then here's your after. So you'll never know that all this work was done until we sit without the pictures. So, but Carl can attest that the crew was here for a month this summer just cleaning the ductwork throughout the school. Over in Danville, they had 3 separate oil boiler rooms. Basically, every time they did an addition, they put a new boiler room. That's pretty inefficient because with a boiler, 20% of your heat is going up through the exhaust. So having 3 separate boiler rooms is very inefficient. We put in 2 new 96% efficient propane boilers, and we're estimating that that'll save the district $16,000 a year in heating costs. And new propane tanks are going. Oh, we also put in new energy efficient pumps. Those just went in recently. Oh, God.
I just want to mention that each one of those boilers controlled just one section of the building. So last year we had a boiler go down, and that area was shut down for the time it took us to fix it, so. This actually is a redundant loop, so if one boiler fails, the other one will handle the load for the rest of the building, so. We won't have to shut down. Go ahead.
Then over at the PAC and at the high school, we just put in these new high efficiency hot water heaters, so took out the old ones that were original when the PAC was built and put in these new. Atkinson Academy, we touched on some of this. It was originally built in 1803. It's the oldest continually operating school in New Hampshire. It was constructed by, I think Carl had mentioned this, Ebenezer Clifford, who designed Phillips Exeter. And it was framed with white oak. Chris and the restoration team combed through the building, went all up through the attics, got to places that probably no one's been to in decades. And the building's amazing, but it also, being 1803, has some significant repair and maintenance that need to be done. We have a few pictures of that. So there's some cracked framing members and some water damage that was found during the investigation. Also, the belfry is fairly, I call this a steeple, I was told this is a belfry, so I've learned a new Scrabble word. And those railings, we're told, are not gonna make it another 2 to 3 years. They say that needs to come down. So we looked at the total restoration and it was, I don't have the exact numbers, but we presented the exact numbers to the committee. It was north of $800,000 to do a complete preservation of this building.
Just of the belfry in the ceilings,
Yes.
not the whole building, it's just the belfry in the ceiling,
framing, yeah.
framing of the ceilings.
Yeah, and in the lease budget that we had presented to the voters back in March, we had allocated about $200,000 for that, which will cover most of the major structural repairs that need to be done.
Phase 1 and phase 2.
Phase 1 and phase 2. So the committee decided to recommend going ahead with that, and then to do the belfry or steeple restoration. That is about north of $500,000, and it was recommended that there's a architectural preservation grant program in New Hampshire called LCHIPS, and it was discussed to apply for that grant to do this, and in the meantime take down anything that's in danger of structural failure. So those railings will be taken down within the next year.
Yeah, just the gentleman that came in and spoke to us referred to this building as a national treasure. Those were his exact words.
Yeah.
So that grant loves buildings like this. This is where this money goes to. So when you listen to this guy talk, I mean, he wants to work on the building just to say he worked on the building.
Yeah.
That means he
Yes,
worked on
yeah.
it, right? So it was an impressive presentation, but I think that grant would probably reasonably go through.
I would hope so, yes. Yep. Speaking of grants, when the Congress last year approved a bill called the Inflation Reduction Act, in it was municipal solar funding, and school districts fall under this. Previously, I've always thought that solar was kind of a neutral thing to do for a district, meaning if you put it on the roof or put it on the grounds, it would pay for itself within 15 to 18 years, and it would last 25 years. So it wasn't going to hurt you to do it, but it wasn't going to be a game changer in a slam dunk of a payback. In the Inflation Reduction Act, what they did is it used to be if you put solar panels on your house, you could get a tax credit. What they've decided to do is make that apply to municipals and school districts as a direct payment. So if you use US manufactured equipment and put this system in, they'll pay 40% of the cost. So what that means is I'm gonna come back to that. If you put in a system like that one that I just showed, which would be in the woods, on campus here, it would cost roughly 3 million. You'd get a 930,000 direct payment, which would mean your net cost would be 2 million. The savings would be 220,000, and you would generate 38,000, which you wouldn't use here, that you could sell back to the grid. So it's 250,000 in savings and generation, and if you finance that with a lease, it'd be 165,000. So you could net if you did a project like this, it would be $100,000 a year revenue positive each year if you financed it. So it's something that I think, speaking for the construction committee, was very attractive to be considered maybe in the budget as a way to say, if you did a lease or lease purchase agreement, it would actually significantly reduce your energy bill by 100,000 net. If you did a system like that. So they've asked us to keep exploring this. These aren't final numbers, and what really makes the difference is that $900,000 federal government grant. And just a little bit of totals about the site, just so you know. This campus used 1,962,000 kilowatt hours. With 1 million used at the high school, 600,000 at the middle, and 200,000 at the PAC. And with a system like that, we can offset 70% of it. So it's just worth considering when the budget season comes up, and to explore that grant program. It is being oversubscribed, meaning everyone who's finding out about this, municipal school districts are jumping on it. So I don't know how much longer this program will be around, because they've already, and you could view this as a positive or negative. Fox News did not view it positively when I was watching the other day, because they had estimated that, X amount of 100 million would apply, and it's been like $1 billion, because it makes it kind of a no-brainer if you get that one-time grant.
With just based on some construction projects I'm involved in now, with getting American suppliers and the demand for this, is there a worry about this happening soon? If we did it?
Probably. There's probably is a worry about that. I haven't gone far enough to ask the suppliers. If you did it without American suppliers, it would be a 30% grant. So you'd have you're getting an extra 10% using American suppliers. So
Worth it if we can get it done.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's something that I think we'll work with the our next construction committee meeting is in October, and we'll present some more concrete numbers, but I think it's just something we wanted to make the board aware of that is being discussed.
The only question that I have, and it kind of came up when I was talking to someone about this today, was those soft costs. Like someone said, well, you gotta replace the batteries. I think for the board to make a good decision, like what are those operating costs? Do you have to replace the batteries every 2 or 3 years? Because this is something, and I was kind of like you. I had no intention of doing anything with solar, but when you look at the numbers, because of the rebate, it makes great sense. Unless there are some hidden unforeseen costs. So I think the faster we can get that kind of information back to the board, the faster we can make a good decision.
When you said out in the woods, do you mean like above the woods?
Carl, you have a preferred spot? No, I mean we'd clear cut.
We'd have to clear cut some land
Are
out
there
there.
issues with that? I mean, in terms of wetlands and whatnot?
Oh, they would be responsible for getting an engineering study and everything for where it would have to be located as far as wetlands.
Yeah, a lot of that is, I just.
I know, and I was hoping they would cut down more trees so we could add more athletic fields out there too.
Right.
So, just a thought.
Water polo or something like that.
Well,
Well, maybe, a swimming pool.
our first pass. So one of the reasons we brought it up is during construction committee is would the roof be the right location or the fields, and the committee overwhelmingly felt that ground mounted and not trying to add load to the building and maintenance items on the building, but putting it off the roof was preferred. So that's why we investigated this, but we're still we're still on the early stages, but just know that it's out there. And then lastly, what's happening next, so the LED lighting will be happening at all the elementary schools second shift. So we're gonna have crews coming in September and October doing that work. Brad is designing a new roofing system for the high school and PAC that would likely be paid for out of the lease funds. We are designing new HVAC ventilation systems for the high school PAC, Atkinson, Danville, and Pollard. We're going to work on applying for L-CHIPS grants for the belfry repairs to Atkinson. We are going to review exterior repair and restoration options for the exterior walls that are that were studied earlier in the year. We are also considering a school building aid application. So one thing and Brad can maybe speak to this, the state of New Hampshire has changed the way they allocate school building aid to make it a 2-year process. And there's some projects that have been kicked around and the committee is maybe they'd be worthy of applying for aid. Do you wanna just talk about the timeline real quick, Brad?
Well, the state of New Hampshire has passed a law that essentially changes the cycle of the New Hampshire State Building Aid, that's the Department of Education, to an annual aid as opposed to every other year. When the new ones come out, it's also been restructured so that towns that are going for a bond vote will know what their building aid is going to be prior to the bond vote, which is kind of a nice perk, right? On the other hand, they have changed the cycle a little bit, so the next application period is April 1st of 2025. So those folks who are looking to get into the next application cycle, it's a very extensive application. It was before, and it hasn't gotten any smaller. They're still working out the details, but essentially, when any given district needs several months before that April 25 to do all their studying, their building design, their estimates, etc., and have that accepted by the school board is something to move forward with to the voters prior to the application date. So that puts the schedule of starting such an effort somewhere in the early part of 24 ideally, but could be as late as spring of 24. If you wanted to, just to start that up and get it going.
So you first have seed money to do whatever work had to do to prepare that.
Yes.
What would be an estimate of what that would run?
I'm sorry.
How much would it cost to determine, the scope of the project, et cetera, and what it would cost to be project ready?
Right.
So that they can approve a plan and give us an estimate about what we might yield, that might yield for us in terms of support or aid or whatever, however that's gonna be divvied out.
Well, much would depend on the project, of course. I mean, the more complicated the project, the more expensive it is to do the study. If you're doing a more simple project, like say, if we were talking about Sandown Central maybe, that would be in the 75,000 minus range, something like that for pre-bond professional design services. Plus, cost estimating, which I'm assuming would be from your construction manager. So that's about the neighborhood you're swimming in.
So you think that this year we need to basically set a goals of what we wanted to do and then get it to be part of the budget process for approval?
That would
for
be my
this spring?
recommendation, that you set aside funds for the pre-bond professional services. And so hopefully we would pull the trigger on that kind of effort at in the middle of the winter of next year, early next year would be best. You could do it later, but that would give it a good pace, a steady pace. It works well with also the timing of, we try to work the timing with when the teachers are actually and school is actually in session, because you want to get stakeholder input and so forth during the school year as the process progresses through the school year. And so it's the best time to do that is around February time to start that process. So you're getting some really good feedback prior to the end of the school year, and then you come back to the stakeholders when they come back in September.
Thank you.
Sure.
And then lastly, we're working on some fire alarm and sprinkler upgrades at Pollard, Danville, the high school and middle school, some design, and that's what we're working on, and continuing to meet with the construction committee every month or so. That's all we had for an update. If there's any questions.
No question. Is there a way to look at, based on, you know, where in the budget this is it part of the lease money, is it part of, you know, Carl's budget, is it part of, you know, something that would have to come through, you know, capital improvement?
Yes.
You know, could that be itemized and projected?
Yes.
We brought that up at the meeting yesterday.
Yeah.
And we requested on the schedule, right, that each item has the valued amount. And we were talking about a separate spreadsheet that identified each project, which bucket that was. There's basically 3 buckets that it comes out of, and where we are. So we have a running tally of whether we're behind, in front, what's left. Because right now we're pulling out of 3 buckets, and I don't think anyone can really tell you what the balance is on those 3 buckets, right? Fair enough. Cause there's no, I know you can.
Exactly where we are.
Yeah, but no, yeah, well, you do, but we don't, and we're the ones in charge, so.
I think that, you know, as we start to look down the road with this, especially that lease money is going to be accountable for, you know, sticking to the theme of
Yes.
what was approved there. So would love to be able to answer questions in this, you know, to the public from this group.
I will tell you, based on the first phase of the lease project, the work that was done in 2023, we're under the budget that was projected for those scopes, and that was specifically the roofing at the middle school, the LED lighting throughout the district, and some roofing at Atkinson. So on that first phase, we're under budget.
One last thing, if I could just, could you go into the wall structures that we have around the campus, just briefly? I like the description you gave us before of the 3 or 4 systems that we're challenged with. There was the window, I mean, just, and what the plan is, cause we did touch base on it briefly, but a little bit better understanding for the board, I think.
So there was quite a detailed study done by Gale Associates, which is a building envelope consultant who specializes in just that. They have structural engineers on staff as well as building scientists. They're the experts that this is what they do. And they specifically looked at the concrete masonry units, or what we call CMU in the industry, walls, and all the cracking that we've seen at the multiple schools. So I have the longest explanation of that piece of the puzzle, but there are challenges to that, and as well as to the EFIS or stucco exterior insulated finishing systems that are on the middle school and some of the other schools with cracking and deterioration. Some of the construction that was done in 2000 included fiber cement paneling and trim, which also has had some pretty considerable damage from weather as well as impact issues. But looping back to the concrete masonry units, we started out with the study just kind of wondering if the walls were structurally stable. In other words, could they be repaired and then augmented or added to or renovated, or were they degraded to the point where they weren't stable anymore? And essentially, in short, the report said that the walls were recoverable. They would be able to be stabilized, and that the repairs that they are recommending would essentially need to be done in order to keep those walls stable. So the work needs to be done, but at the same time, you don't have to tear the wall down, which is some really good news. So what they're recommending, pretty much across the board for all of the CMU walls that we were studying, is for the removal of all the finish, all the paint on these walls, replacement of concrete block units that are cracked more than the 16th of an inch. There's not a lot of them, but there are some. repointing of the grout joints, the mortar joints in the walls, and applying a new finish on the walls, which would be what's called vapor permeable, allows the vapor air to travel through the wall and dry out, which is really not what's happening right now. The water's getting trapped in the wall, and then it's freezing, and that does really bad things as it expands. And so what we're seeing is some major cracking, more than a 16th, and minor cracking, which is called spider cracking, or micro cracking. The micro cracking is not so much of a concern if if the issue is addressed and fixed, and the major cracking is not fatal. It can be repaired. So there is some pretty good news there, but it's extensive work, and it does need to be addressed.
That, for lack of a better term, the stucco board, the Harvey board, that is failing in a lot of places, and when you say that the moisture is getting in behind the walls, which is gonna cause us more problems in the, I mean, that to me is like the next step on the exterior besides the window. I mean, I just want the board to understand the extent of.
Yeah, the fiber cement board, I think, was very affordable at the time that it was installed, but it has a much shorter life than some of the alternative materials that you use to finish such a building. And there's not one reason why they're necessarily failing, but I mean, it really comes down to bad seams, and the boards being too close to the water source. So if you got a board that's right next to the roof, and the snow builds up, that snow's sitting right on top of the fiber cement. It's just not meant to handle that kind of moisture. And the longer that condition is allowed to remain, as with any sort of building envelope, the more opportunity to invite water into the building and create more damage, both cosmetically and structurally. And that's, we could have that same philosophical discussion about the Atkinson Academy building, with wood trim. If you leave rotted trim on a wall, you're letting the moisture come into the building, and then it can do worse damage to the inside. So you always want to stabilize that envelope to make it watertight.
Kim?
Carl, are these walls that we just talked about, are they in your sites to put, are they already in the budget?
Oh, no.
Or is this just
No,
something?
So the CMU walls, that we had to get a study, that was part of my budget, the $100,000 for that study.
You just received this?
And we just received
Oh.
that, so now we need to find the funding to do the actual repairs of this, which is upwards of $800,000, so we might be able to do it in a phase plan. I do have some money in this year's capital funds still unaccounted for. So we may be able to start with those walls at first. As far as the fiber boards, they had to be replaced, but they weren't high on my list, so but they are an important thing. They're unsightly. It's really a shame that they've been there this long. But we've got a lot of other things that needed to be fixed before then, so.
I would just put in a footnote that, this could be a scary conversation when you're talking about concrete masonry units and the cost to repair. But I think it's worth underlining that overall it's actually good news, because
Yeah.
the
'cause
walls
walls
are
are
standing up and they
Safe
can be
for now.
fixed.
Yeah.
That's
Very
pretty
unsightly,
important.
that's
Yeah.
They're structurally sound, there's no danger.
for now.
For now, but they do
If we
need to
don't
be
do
fixed.
anything.
Yeah.
Be addressed.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for that update. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I just have one more
Yep,
question.
Kim, go ahead.
Just curious, the fence behind the Danville playground was on hold, just curious about that.
Budgetary, I don't think I budgeted enough money for that. I had a quote and it didn't stand because of the time frame between that.
Oh.
But we did put the gates and the fence beside the playground to keep cars from going back there, but
Okay.
not the fence behind the playground yet. We're looking at to see if I can find the budgetary numbers somewhere else.
Your magic budgetary numbers.
That's
I know
the joys,
I
you know,
know.
we save money on one area, we have to spend it, you know, I have plenty of things to spend it on, so.
I'm sure. Thanks, Carl. Bree?
I just wanted to clarify the high school remove front canopy, is that like the walkway in the front?
Yep, the canopy on the front walkway is deteriorating, it needs to be removed.
So we're just not gonna have anything there?
I looked at an option to put a nice canopy up there, it was upwards of $1 million to have it really nicely designed, so you could actually tell where the front entrance is instead of looking at the building going. But it was almost $1 million to design something nice like that, so my plan is to take the cement off the top, the cement pads off the top and leave the arches to give it an architectural look. I think the arches will still be able to show Timber Lane, because everybody knows Timber Lane by those arches, I believe, so.
Are you talking about the steel?
Yeah, the steel's still in good shape, so I mean, we also hang flags off of those that say welcome to Timber Lane. And if we ever decide to put something back up
Second
on top of
story.
there, we can, well,
So you're
not
saying,
second
you're
story.
saying it needs to be removed structurally
Yes,
or visually? So structurally it is failing.
it
So this is not what we had heard a year ago, that's why I'm asking.
there are cracks in it, it's deteriorating, it's
Is it
something-
structurally a danger, and does EEI, is that your conclusion, that it's structurally a danger to have the concrete up there? Because that was different than what we heard less than 12 months ago.
Well, the canopy is similar to the walls in that it needs to be addressed. If it's not addressed, it can fail. It's got some pretty serious problems. We've looked at some solutions which include like putting a concrete topping on it to get a positive slope on it and seal all the cracks up. It's pretty expensive for what you're getting. That's not gonna fix the drooping. If you actually look at the slab, it's drooping around.
I thought we had made the decision just to cut them out and fill them, you know, where we did cut the steel out, just rip the thing out. I don't wanna spend $1 million on an I mean, we got walls that are leaking like crazy, and we have to allocate our resources into certain areas, and I thought the decision was made to cut it out, cause we talked about where the steel is currently sitting, we were gonna put a block in there or patch it in the sidewalk, and we did have that conversation.
Several years ago, Jim Hughes was lobbying to knock it down then, because he thought it would be kind of a waste of money to try to repair it. You know, at that point, it was already a lot of work for what he thought was a little return. It didn't go through that way. I think they did do some shoring up things, but painting it and caulking it and things like that. But if you look at, there's some telltale signs of trouble, around the entrance area and things like that. It doesn't look great.
It gets a little more concerning if you get on a ladder and look from the top.
Yeah.
There's some considerable degradation of the concrete envelope. It's a rather remarkable structure in that it has stood there for that long.
Would you walk across it?
As
what
a
they're gonna
structural
pay.
engineer, look at it, and he doesn't have X-ray vision, but he didn't say it was an imminent danger for catastrophic failure, but at the same time, he said it really requires, just like the CMU walls, it requires repair. It's considerable repair in order to stabilize it and make sure that it doesn't continue to degrade. So it has to be addressed one way or another.
At the construction committee, I think with previous board members, we presented 3 or 4 designs of something and we were kind of pilloried based on how expensive it was and what the other needs were. So then we haven't made it a focus, so.
I just,
I get it, but it's something that we're gonna work on, we wanna make sure that it's not a liability, it's gonna fall down, hit somebody, so.
I don't think it's gonna fall this year, but it's gonna fall at some point.
Okay.
And there's sags in it, there's pieces of it that
But if we know that,
How
and
reassuring.
we have a plan to just take out a portion of it and leave the rest of the structure, why aren't we doing that rather than taking a chance that no one has a crystal ball. So if we wait a year thinking it's not gonna happen and then it does happen in 9 months when someone's walking out of that school.
Yeah, it's some,
This
So
meet,
what-
this meeting will be played again.
So, right, so that's why I'm just saying, if we know it's an issue, why are we waiting a year?
yeah.
We're not getting it, we're not replacing it, we're just removing a portion of it, correct?
Yeah, and I'm
So
getting
why
that.
aren't we just doing that just to get it done and be on the safe side?
Just getting estimates.
But
mean,
that's,
I-
but that's the plan, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Unless I'm at the will of the board.
No, I just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get it done. I
Yeah.
mean, if we know it's an issue, why take a chance? Why wait 9 months? And only that, the costs are gonna go up in 9 months too, so
Yeah, I
let's
think we
just
need
get
to
it
look
done
at
and
all
be-
the expenses of everything and see where would that fit,
you're right.
you know?
Yep,
And
well-
what goes if that if that becomes the focus. It's not cheap, you're talking about, you know, significant
cheap.
job.
Fixing it is not cheap, replacing it is not cheap.
You were saying $1 million?
Yeah,
To replace it.
Right, but fixing it, we just said we were just gonna remove a portion, so when you say not cheap, what is that?
the whole
The whole roof is
The
coming
roof,
down.
he's gonna
The
leave
whole-
up the steel.
Right, he's gonna leave the steel, we're gonna
I'll get rid of the
remove
steel,
it,
too.
how? That's what I'm asking, what's it gonna cost to remove that section of it?
Working on getting quotes for that.
I would
Okay.
love to see that.
Well, thank you guys for the,
Appreciate it.
yeah, thank you guys for the information.
I am so sorry,
Thank you.
everyone. Your 5 minutes was very helpful.
So if it's all right with the board, I'm gonna move up one agenda item. I'm gonna move up the assistant treasurer nomination before athletic. If everybody's all right with that?
Yes.
All right,
Thanks,
come on
guys.
down, Maria. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would like to nominate Deborah Desmond for the assistant treasurer position. Deborah is the tax collector at Atkinson.
Okay.
So moved.
She has served for many years at Atkinson, so she's very knowledgeable. She has she interested in the position.
She's solid.
All right, so we have a motion to accept the nomination of Deborah L. DeSimone
DeSimone.
as Assistant Treasurer of the Timberland Regional School District. Did you so move that, Jack?
I did.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Kim. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained. One exception, so 8-0-1. Just wanna thank Gloria Dodge for her years of service as the assistant, and all goes well with her.
Yes.
You get back to your husband.
We are very thankful for that.
Happy anniversary, by the way.
I have the budget item, which is just the schedule for the budget committee, but that's just the schedule of the budget committee upcoming budget season.
It's just informational.
We'd be happy to share that.
Yeah, we can do
Yeah,
that.
it's your anniversary and you're here, bye
Yeah,
Maria,
bye.
bye. What-
Actually, one more thing, quick update. We just had last week, the auditors here, they were supposed to be here Monday to Friday doing our audit for 2023. And I'm very happy to let you know that they were out here in 2 days.
Nice.
Thanks to, well, 3 days, they came on Wednesday to clean up. Thanks to our wonderful Lisa Oliver, our assistant VA, which is amazing. She had everything ready for them and they accomplished our auditing.
Nice job, guys. Thank you. Enjoy your evening.
Happy anniversary.
All right, now we're gonna move back to the athletic emergency action plan.
Should have had some flowers or something.
She's leaving. No.
Good evening, Angelo. Hello. Thanks for your patience.
Good evening, folks. Just a quick informational update on the emergency action plan, and where it all began. So Senate Bill 148 FN was signed by Governor Sununu on August 10th of 2021, and it was supposed to take effect on September 1st of 2022, which I had come before the board and come to the superintendent's office talking about the year prior. So obviously, our emergency action plan was in place for last year. We have updated it this year as well. We are currently, I've met with the school resource officer, our athletic trainer Gina Carbone, who is amazing. And on Monday, I'll be meeting with the fire chief as well as the resource officer and the athletic trainer. And then when school starts, we will continue to meet with our school nurses as well. What's happening right now, sports has begun, high school is up and running, and Gina, our trainer, has been working with our coaches and our teams. We are doing emergency action drills, which we do with every team and every level. And just so that people are aware, it's called drop the dummy drill is what we usually do. And Gina will walk out there with a CPR mannequin and drop it and walk away. And that will simulate that someone has lost consciousness on the field. And the beauty is the kids and the coaches all have assigned roles and responsibilities to help deal with whatever the incident is. So we have kids who are assigned to go at the AED, call 911, CPR, get out towards the street to direct the ambulance. The only thing I will tell you that we did learn from last year that we will correct this year is that when we are doing our drills, we're going to give people a heads up in the schools.
It's probably a good idea.
When you do a really good job, like I told the kids, and you're flying down the street and you're running with, you know, an AED, we do have to tell people that it is just a drill. So we did learn that lesson. We are doing that now. And the high schools, as I said, the high schools will be participating in their drills this week and next, and then when the middle schools start at the end of the month. So it's an ongoing process, obviously, and you know, the more we look at this, the more we find something else. But I do want to compliment Gina, our athletic trainer. I want to compliment the coaches and the kids. They take it very, very seriously, and it's done really well.
So this is just that you're updating it, but when is your timeline of coming back for us to, we'll have to approve it again, won't we? The action plan, or no, do we not have to do that? No?
No, it's just
Okay.
information.
No.
Just
Have to
he's
update
just
us.
letting
No,
us
I'm
know.
saying the next time, like, do they once the plan's updated and everything, does it have to be brought back to the board to approve it, is what I'm saying?
This is this year's and it's just,
Oh, okay.
it's just informational
Okay.
to let us know
Yes.
what's happening and that he's doing this and just to,
Okay.
it's
Makes
part of
sense.
the whole thing to
No, you're
notify
good.
us.
No, and any time, like if we do make more updates, you know, if I'm meeting with the fire chief, or I'm meeting with the police or the nurses, and they see something that we need to, you know, adjust, I will always be sending updates. This is kind of a living, breathing
Okay.
document, so
Makes
I
sense.
will always be updating with the superintendent.
Thank you. Does
Thank
anybody
you.
have any questions for him? All right, thank you so much.
Thanks, Angela.
Next is new job descriptions. Nope. No? Oh, enrollment update. Don't mind me. It's been a long day.
Evening, Lucy.
Hi, Lucy.
So you'll notice we're back to all pressure points, which sounds really great. It's the matter of one student at each grade, but Danville School grade 2 and 4 is no longer at capacity. So we have 4 pressure points that are no surprise to any of you. They're those grade levels that we've been watching.
Could I also just take an opportunity to add, I know this has kind of been a conversation for us over the last few weeks, and just wanted to ensure the board and the public that, you know, we are continuing to look at these things on a daily basis. More than that, we've kind of engaged with the school admin and the teachers that are gonna be doing that kind of difficult work of running classrooms, and we're confident that we've got the supports and the pieces in place to be able to meet the needs of the students in those classrooms. So as we look at kind of where the needs are and how we have kind of dealt with enrollment over the past, again, want to reiterate, this is not something that is new to Timberlane in terms of class sizes like this. This year, I think we have made a concerted effort to engage the folks that are going to be doing the work and kind of instill them with the confidence that we're going to be able to meet the needs of those kids.
Kim?
So, just to be clear, that we don't need an extra teacher. They're just pressure points for watching.
We are not at capacity based on policy in any grade level.
Okay. And you've worked it out with the admins and you've had conversations with the teachers and the admins about these classrooms that are very full, or, for example, going from 16 to 25, yeah?
Yes, and I'd say in addition that we talk to all staff about the kids that they're going to be having, right, and how to kind of best meet that they're there. But yeah, specifically for these situations, correct.
Okay, so, which is great. but so what about the parents that have been reaching out that don't necessarily know that you've had these conversations and you all know what you're doing? There's a lot of parents out there that don't know that, that don't feel confident
Sure.
about that, so how are we gonna get
I
to
absolutely
them?
have a suggestion before I give it. I don't know if Lucy or Sandy would wanna give a suggestion as well, if they have thoughts to that end without.
We'll see if it's different.
Very well, maybe. It would be the same thing I would tell a parent with any questions about their school setting, is please reach out to the school principal, please schedule some time to sit with that person, please engage with the classroom teacher. Those are the people that you need to feel good about that you're sending your kids to. So those are the people that you need to engage with directly. Me saying it up here at this meeting is I'm not the one with your child anymore. So there are great people that work in our schools that are doing tremendous work. Reach out to them and engage them and ask them that tough question. Hey, your class is, I don't know how I'd work with 25 third graders or fourth graders. Tell me how you're gonna do that. And then allow that parent or guardian to listen to that professional about how they're gonna do it.
Do we,
Yep, Jack.
do we send?
Anything different?
Not different, I think I would just add on that we also have our sights set on parent-teacher conferences, right? And our intervention process and all of the supports that we put in place at the beginning of the year with all classes is there. And so if parents are not clear on what that process might be, that would also be a question I would follow up with, just to have that knowledge ahead of time and know that 6 weeks in, we're gonna be having those conversations and really digging into individual students, so just to add on to that.
Thank you.
Jack.
Do we proactively send out an email or letter of communication stating basically what you just said? Because I think it's so important to get those lines of communications at the very front end of things and let them know that we're open to communication and engagement by the parents.
Classroom teachers do send letters home. Do they specifically say that in the letter? Maybe not, they're each tailored to their own classroom, welcoming their families. Those go out tomorrow. So families will be receiving those letters this weekend or Monday, depending on the post.
And one of the purposes there, I'm sure, is to open the door.
Yes, so contact information and to start that conversation. Also, you maybe think about, we have open house next week. So not that it's a time to stop and have long conversations, right? It's really busy, you've all been through it. But it's a time to connect and say, can we set up a time to meet or talk?
It could be a principal's newsletter edition when the next one comes out. I'm not sure as to what their pattern of publication is, but parents will read those.
Yep, Bree.
Last meeting when we spoke, we asked about trying to solicit 2 positions. Where are we on that?
So we looked at some different measures that I kind of reported out to Mark and Katie. I think Kristen, you there too.
Yeah, you've been there.
Kind of 3 different areas, right? So one big bucket is the CIP stuff, and I just kind of reported out historically in that district that has been expended solely and totally on what it's meant to be for, capital improvement. So it hasn't been kind of beg, borrow, or steal for. So we wanted to pass on that. We looked at the programming stuff, which is, again, a very small discretionary part of the budget. And there's not things that we're willing to forego and kind of do without in terms of those type of pieces, because those are things that are in process for us that we've begun and that we want to be able to see through. And then the largest item is just the salary and the personnel pieces and looking at the unfilled positions here. So despite that there are a number of those positions that we haven't filled, and a super majority of them are in special education, there are a couple contributing factors that why my feedback was not to take from that portion. So one is that because we're not able to fill those things, Kelly is forcing the contract with a whole lot of different organizations and people. That is at a much higher cost than if those were our own people. So those are needs that we're legally obligated to meet, and we're needing to go out and pay 2 or 3 times for that service. So to be able to take from that when we don't necessarily have a totally idea of what that cost is going to be at the end, does not seem like the prudent thing to be able to do. That said, we're also going to be having conversations about other needs here in the district as we go forward that may not be at the elementary level. And to balance that with the unused salary figures, we want to be able to have some space in that way. So that's kind of what I reported back to that request. I don't see a place to be able to fund 4 positions without getting in the capital, which is not something I recommend we do, without getting in the program, which is something where I wouldn't recommend we do, and without getting a better handle of some projections about where we're gonna be with special education costs.
I'm not sure what you said, but with regard to, the new hires we've made.
Yeah.
Is that like a wash? Do we end up saving any money, with people that were different, lower spots on the pay scale? Do you have a sense of whether
My sense.
that could be equivalent of another position that we could afford, or?
My sense now is as much as that may have been the history of things, that districts tend to hire younger and right out of school. And Frank can maybe speak to us where we are right now with hiring. I don't see us, that's where we're at. I mean, we are hiring the people that are applying for those positions and that are making it through that case, but.
I wasn't trying to imply that we were intentionally hiring, people.
Oh, no,
I'm just saying that, where do we stand with that? Because sometimes
I
that's
asked
the
the
way it
same-
works out.
It's much more of a mixed bag than I think it has been in the past, in terms of, we have some people coming in at top step.
We have some retirees from Massachusetts that are coming in very high steps. We do have some people just graduating as well, but we also have some people that are coming in very high steps as well.
I was hoping there was some sort of balance there too, Dawn, but there's not. So I asked the same question in our meeting, so.
Yeah. Thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions for her? All right, thank you. Now, new job descriptions.
Evening, Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Just wanna put my head down.
You got it. You can do this.
So there's a summary in there about our ASD and which is an NECC program that is at Atkinson, and then the ED program. We had to redo the job descriptions for them just to kind of distinguish between what is going on in different buildings versus what's going on in our programs and stuff like that. So the NECC program started this week with training for their staff. So if you notice on it, it's a larger amount of time that the paraprofessionals have to work in that program. More hours, more days because of the training that comes with it. The ED program right now has the same schedule that you would have if you were a paraprofessional in the district. And that's part of that is because the NECC program requires things. The ED program is an in-district program. You understand the differences between the two? One is a requirement from NECC because we have a partner classroom with them. The other one is an ED program that is just in our district with our staff.
Would you just briefly just tell us what NACC stands for and ED
England
what that
Center
is?
for
Yeah.
Children.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. I was just like, what?
Should have a list of acronyms for everybody.
It's alphabet soup, I get it.
Yeah. Yep. Well-known, just so you know, NECC is well-known. They have a residential program in Mass. They have many of these partner and collaborative programs in New Hampshire. So there's a lot of them that are around elementary all the way up to high school, so.
And highly successful.
Yes, yep, very, very successful. And keep your kids in your community instead of sending them out. So our struggle that we're having is getting our own staff to be able to work in the program because of pay.
Yep.
So we are training people who may not be with us because they're contracted people. So you just have to think about that, right? We're training people that'll have skills to go on to another job.
And then the ED, the social worker, that's a grant funded position,
It
correct?
is, yes. Yep, part of our IDEA grant is to have that part-time social worker in there as one of the components. We have a BCBA which is a behavior person. We have the social worker and one of the special ed administrators, Amy Daly, will be there to support the program as well. So we have outside consultants, we have training and stuff for them as well.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for her?
What are the physical locations of these programs within our district?
So the ED program is at Danville Elementary and the NECC is at Atkinson.
No, I terminology is driving me crazy. The ED program, emotional disorder. I've said it before, so it's.
Yep, absolutely. So the hard thing is the state of New Hampshire
I know.
has us for program approval. That's what the definition is.
Mhm.
And so we have talked about that before. Absolutely, it's hard to put that label on it. It just is the way that the state has us call them because we are an approved program for both those areas, and that is what the terminology that they use.
And so all this is you all have just updated their job descriptions to reflect what they're doing within their buildings.
Yep.
Okay. So could I please get a motion to accept these job descriptions?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dawn. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstained. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kelly.
So the next thing is audit engagement. Maria's not here. I'll let her go because of, but it sounds like
It's just simple authorization that we need from the board to engage in the audit process. I think there's a dollar figure that's attached to that as a preliminary one. Maria just wanted to make a note that it doesn't include any add-ons or grants or kind of other kind of figures that way, but that's kind of a general place to start.
So could someone please make a motion to authorize the school board chair to sign the audit engagement letter with an estimated fee of $28,500, which does not include additional work for grants or any other items.
So moved.
So moved.
Question,
Kristen?
is this different from the audit that they just finished? What is this audit for?
What is, Kelly?
They already started the audit before we even did the engagement letter. It's just they.
This is the audit. This is what.
This is the audit.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
In that
I'm pretty sure we have to do this.
In that case, we better pay for it.
Yeah, don't do it, don't do
Say
it.
no, then we're-
Yeah.
Shauna, did you second it?
Yeah, I'll second.
So it was seconded. Any other discussion? Sounds like again, it's, yeah. No, did you?
No, I'm closing my mouth.
Okay, sure, sure. Okay.
But you wish I'd say that.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained, all right. So I will sign that, and then the next thing is in the SNHU College Fair donation. No, Budget Committee, I am so sorry, guys, I am just,
Again, as Maria mentioned,
Please.
it's simply informational. It's just a calendar of kind of when that group is gonna kind of be pushing things out and when presentations are gonna happen. It's organized, it's declarative, it's sequential in terms of how things are kind of sequenced there, so. I'll be there.
And just to clarify, anyone is welcome to the tours in those meetings in September to kind of better understand the CIP and all the parents at home. We encourage you to come and check things out.
You want a drum?
You should be in sales.
all right, does anybody have any questions about the budget schedule and?
No, but this is great. Thank you.
Yes,
for
thank you so
whoever put it
much.
together.
Now we're on to the College Fair donation.
And this is kind of an annual thing that's kind of been happening as SNSU looks to kind of donate some dollars there. And I know there's been some past discussion here about how best to use those. I think it's laid out in the executive summary there in terms of it's not used for advertising or pushing that organization, but to actually support the college and career day that kind of goes on campus. It's an engaging activity for kids, and they're with the staff to kind of talking about what's next for them. So we're looking for an acceptance of that donation.
So does it always take place early September?
I think it's
Yes.
typically in the
Yes.
fall, right?
I'm doing it for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
I think this may be the 10th year.
It's been very successful. Get a good turnout. Couple of days.
Talking about college there. Yeah, no, it's the most important day, because that's when my daughter got introduced to Montana State, which allowed me to go fly fishing quite a bit, so that's all.
I'll make a motion to accept the $1,000 donation from Southern New Hampshire University for the purpose of the junior senior college fair.
You have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Kristen, any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained, all right. We already did the assistant treasury, and then we have some policies. Right, yes. So we have, oh my goodness,
No, it's just a,
is it just one whole big one?
yeah, it's just a description.
Okay, So it's we have one for first read and one for second read. The first read is policy GBED/ADC/JICG. Talk about alphabet soup. This is the prohibitions regarding use and possession of tobacco products, e-cigarettes, and e-liquids in and on school facilities and grounds. The only changes in recommendation, it reflects the NHSBA sample policy. This is a required policy the TRSD does not currently have and corresponds with policies ADC and JICG. Justin, was there anything else you wanted to say about that? That's pretty much about it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Can I have a motion to accept this policy as a first read?
So moved.
So moved by Kristen. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jack. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstained. All right. And then for second read, we have policy JLCF, which is wellness. And again, this is for second read and adoption. It just reflects the updated language provided by the NHSBA.
Just a short note, do you wanna go ahead and?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay. So this has not come to the first read of the board yet, so it's not really its second read here.
Okay.
It is time sensitive. This is something that needs to get into the free and reduced lunch numbers and those type of things about applications we need to submit. It crept up on us. It went through policy today, and that group was comfortable moving it here and trying to fast track it so we can be on timeline for our application that is also tied to funding.
So I'll make a motion that we waive first read and accept it for second read.
Second.
Motion by Kristen, second by,
Just had a question.
yeah, go ahead.
So we're basically just deleting ours and putting the other one in place. Is what this looks like.
School Board Association.
Like we're just parking the NHSBA one in there.
Yeah.
Letters going on. Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstained. All right. That's it for business. Administrators report?
Well, so I think tonight Sandy and I just have 3 new beginnings to kind of present to you. We've got new teachers starting with us this week, we've got full staff coming next week, and we've got kids coming up. So I'll let Sandy go first and I'll fill in with staff and kids next.
So we had a really great week beginning on Tuesday, welcoming 51 new hires to our building. So that's spread out across all of our 7 schools, but they were with us starting on Tuesday. We had some really great kind of team building activities. Started off the day, which is really great. Our full admin team was there to welcome them and had some opportunity to hear a little bit about their experiences through the hiring process and why they chose Timberlane. And so got some really encouraging feedback about positive communication with our schools, keeping them in the loop, helping them to feel really welcomed, and got to hear some really great things from our veteran staff as well, talking about why they are still here at Timberlane and what makes this place so special to them. So went through some professional development. Today they got to meet with their mentors who were with them. They were in their schools doing some checklists to kind of acclimate themselves to the buildings and start preparing for the school year. So it was a really great 3 days. It's always super energizing to be around the energy of new teachers who are coming in and so excited to start the year with their students. And so, you know, it definitely gave me a great jolt the other day to really feel energized and just really positive being around those people. So excited to welcome them. So welcome to Timberlane, and we're excited to have them be part of our family here.
It's great.
And then looking to next week, we have, a lot of us have been here over the summertime. There's some people working partially over the summertime. There's people that haven't been here for the summer. So, Lou and his crew and a lot of this teaching staff and the support staff are gonna come back on Wednesday. They're gonna have a day in their buildings, kind of reconnecting with each other and doing the things that they need to do to kind of get that ship straight. And on Thursday, we are gonna spend some time in our buildings to start the day again. And then we really wanna hammer home a full district message. So we're gonna welcome every employee of the school district here on the secondary campus. I'm gonna extend an invite to this entire board tonight when this meeting ends. I really encourage your attendance and participation on that day. We're gonna try to set the table and set the stage for the school year all together in one place. We're then gonna go into segment 2 and have lunch together. That will be provided to the staff. And then the third thing is we're gonna engage in about an hour of a community activity that staff are going to opt into based on an area of interest. So some folks are gonna check out meditation, some people are gonna be out in the fields playing lawn games, some folks are gonna hang out inside watching a film titled Resilience, dealing with toxic stress in kids. Some of them are gonna meet with me and have a Q&A with Sandy and I. Some of them are gonna do an improv show. The entire point is to do something together, to do it purposely and to do it around an area of interest, and those are the foundational pieces of teaching and learning. So those are the things that we wanna hammer home that day. So again, if you have availability that day, I encourage you to attend from that beginning district welcome in the pack, through lunch, talk to the staff here that work, and then stay for an activity that you can sign up for and talk to the staff when you're there as well. And then for kids, they're starting their day with us that next week when the weekend turns, and Monday they're here with us on the 28th, and we are rolling with them for 180 school days. So that is the day, that's the magic day. We're looking forward to it.
It's great to hear, thank you. All right, next is personnel report. So the first, we need to make motions.
Oh, I do need to make motions for
The
this
first
one?
one is motions.
All right, I'm ready. I'd like to make a motion to accept the professional nominations of the following professionals: Jennifer Najar, School Adjustment Counselor at Timberlane Regional Middle School; Jesse Craig, Special Education Teacher at Pollard; Terry Demain, Out of District Coordinator for the Timberlane Regional School District 50% position; and Kathleen Lonergan, Out of District Coordinator for the Timberlane Regional School District, also 50% position.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstained. Welcome to the district. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the professional resignation of Kathleen Fleming Clement, the school psychologist at Danville Elementary School.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Cam. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstained.
I'd like to make a motion requesting a title change for Robin Ahern from Administrative Assistant School Counseling / Registrar to Senior Administrative Assistant School Counseling / Registrar.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mark. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstained. The rest just need to be read into the record.
All right, reading into the record, professional nominations for Karen Chiarella, a social worker at Timberlane Regional Middle School; Dawn Thoreau, special education teacher at Timberlane Regional High School; as well as professional resignations for Kim Workinger, science teacher at Timberlane Regional High School; Lisa Vidala, special education teacher at Sandown North; Denise St. Hilaire, grade 4 teacher at Sandown North; and Maria Kendall, grade 3 teacher at Danville Elementary School, as well as professional retirement of Nancy Green, media specialist at Timberlane Regional High School, retiring December 29th of 2023.
Second. We're just reading into the record. We've already signed it.
Entering into record. Sorry. Did I miss any?
No, but now you gotta go to the 8-4.
Oh, these are the ones you can sign. These ones are motions?
No, you just have to read it.
All right, and nobody else wants to read tonight? That's okay.
You do this. Mark can read the last one.
All right, that's cool. Entering into the record the professional nominations of Catherine Morris, science teacher at Timberlane Regional Middle School; Emily Albright, grade 4 teacher at Sandown North Elementary; Erin Nielsen, science teacher at Timberlane Regional Middle School; Mark Very, math teacher at Timberlane Regional High School; Ashley Wheeler, special education teacher at Timberlane Regional Middle School; and Amy Jean Muskoff, technology integration teacher at Sandown North, as well as professional resignations of Matthew Valonis, grade 5 teacher at Pollard, and Michelle Adero, Spanish teacher at Timberlane Regional High School.
All right, Mark, you're up.
Okay, and for professional nominations, Katie Leone, grade 3, teacher at Danville Elementary; Benjamin Helleman, English teacher at Timberlane Regional High School; Kerry Gerard, business education teacher at Timberlane Regional High School. And for our professional resignations, Susan Torello, special education case manager, Pollard; Ann Epperson, English teacher, Timberlane Regional High School; Tracy DeMarco, special education teacher, Timberlane Regional Middle School.
All right. We wish everybody who's resigned well in all their future endeavors, and the people who are retiring, we thank you for your service and enjoy your retirement. Fran, is there anything else that you needed to say or?
Actually, we've done a great job in filling positions, except for the special ed area, through no fault of Kelly's, of course. But I think administrators did a great job getting everything filled. We only have a few left, so keeping our fingers crossed to get them filled pretty quickly.
Thank you so much.
Do you have active discussions going right now for these positions, or are we still?
We're still interviewing and still going through the nomination process. I think, have one or two on my desk.
Okay, great, cool. Kelly, we're hoping. I mean, looking at this, it's discouraging and, you know, keep your head up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what we can do, but clearly with that many open positions, if there's something you need, bring it to our attention. Don't hesitate, because you have to do what you have to do, so.
It's a big concern.
Here's one thing we could do, is we can recognize that the special education hires are not just special education hires, they're district hires.
Yeah.
That's kind of number one. Two is that, you wanna share, I don't know, anecdotes, Kelly, but how many interviews did you have this week?
Between last week and Monday, I think, or Tuesday, 68.
Wow, nice.
So I'm now interviewing 7 days a week. So.
Kelly, thank you for
Thank
your
you, and we're
commitment
sorry.
to filling these positions.
Yeah, it's a cutthroat time right now, so if I interview and say I'll get back to you, if I don't jump on it immediately, then there's somebody else right behind them taking them, so.
Thank you. Oh, my
Fingers
folder.
crossed, because we want our kids to be ready.
Thank you for that, Kelly.
Yeah,
no joke.
really.
All right. Committee reports. We'll start with Paul.
I don't have anything to report.
Okay. Kim? Mark?
You can take it. I saw you.
The what?
I'll go,
Meeting.
policy committee met today.
Let's go.
Policy committee met today. We have a few things in the works and a few things coming forward to the board very soon.
And then for me, safety committee, I don't think we've met since the last time. Our next one is, no, September.
It's the same day. That's
Yeah,
right.
it's the same one as September, and then I
September
have nothing
12th.
else. Do you have anything, Kristen?
No, I don't have a committee report, but I do just want to follow up on what Armand was saying, what Angela was saying, how athletics are in full swing right now with tryouts and lots of games and lots of fun things going on campus. And not only will the athletics start, but then all the club stuff will start and all of the shows and everything else. So, you know, campus is going to start getting very active, but the reason I really wanted to bring those up is Armand's not here, but I want to congratulate him for making the varsity soccer team, and he had a scrimmage today, so it was great to see him back out on the field. But also that is going to mean that there might be some absences by some people on the school board because they're there either playing or watching their children, so just an FYI to people in the public that some of us may not be here for a couple of meetings coming up. So that's that.
Sports come first.
Sports come, yeah, well.
Children come first. We're all here for children.
Children and
We're all here
activities
for
for,
children.
yes. However, so we'll discuss that with Armand too and figure out. But, and also I just want to apologize to anyone for why I was not turning around and looking. I've crinked my neck, so I was texting Ken or emailing Ken to ask him if in the future, if when possible, the things that are gonna end up there can end up on here.
Yeah.
So that if we can't turn around, because sometimes too, even turning around, it's hard to see
It
that
is hard to see
screen.
the glare, right?
Yeah, so Ken's gonna work on that for
Thank
us,
you,
so thank
Ken.
you very much, Ken, because that'll be helpful, and if it happens, it happens, if it doesn't, it
I
doesn't.
thought at one time we used to put it up there too.
We used to be able to watch what was yes, whatever was on there was up there, and that's what he's talking about, is trying to do a feed for that onto here, so that we can see stuff like that, so, which would probably be a good thing too, so. Especially now that we don't have privacy panels around here, it might be nice to know. So that's kind of that, and I do just wanna bring up one thing, I could do it in other business or I can do it now. It's up to you. So, on the minutes, the sealed, the non-public minutes, I don't know if you wanna hand them back out, but I would like to make a motion to unseal the non-public session from July 20th.
Yeah, there was nothing really in it that needed to stay sealed.
There's no reason to have those sealed, so I'd like to make a motion to unseal the non-public session, July 20th, 2023 minutes.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Jack. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained.
And abstain from my own, even though I could vote on it, just.
Alright, 7-0-2. Okay. Before I move on to Jack, I did wanna make mention that the TTA that we had our first, I gotta get my stuff in before you take over, man. But the TTA, we did meet the other day, just to kind of set some ground rules and everything, and set up some new meetings, some workshops and everything, and everyone seems we're really optimistic and hoping that we can have a good session and get a contract signed for them, so. Jack?
Yeah, we had, I get stuff, other stuff, but just the construction meeting, these guys touched base on 99% of it.
Okay.
The number for the masonry walls was extremely high, much higher than I think it needs to be. And on top of that is another, and here's where we're losing a lot of, I won't say losing money, but the engineering to write out the spec was another 70,000 on top of the 830, right? It's a very high number, so we talked about controls, and we talked about putting in controls. One of the things, and Dawn had touched base on it, that there's no way to track this stuff, so we, the money for these projects are coming out of 3 buckets, and we need a balance sheet for each one of those things, and the sooner the better, and ask them to attach it to the schedule. I'm working with Marie on that, just to let you guys know, because we need to know where we stand. Not only because we need to track the money, but we need to know how we're gonna make decisions on other projects that are coming up, right? Because what's happening is, they had seismic clips that they had to put on the middle school when they put in, that's $100K. 70,000 for this, 50,000 for that, and all of a sudden, you're looking at $500,000 of
Add-ons.
undesignated, unforeseen costs. So those things are creeping in there, and we need to track that a little bit better. And no, I just had the construction meeting and that's it, and I got a few things under new business, so.
So they are working on that spreadsheet though, is that what you guys are doing, so that we can see it?
Yeah, I mean, I kinda wish Kyle had hung out, but those things, Maria said that she can get that to us.
Okay, good.
And the only other thing is when we get, say, the number from, on our invoices, it's a number. I wish on something that large, and the fact that it's a project, and I'm sure Maria can get you if you ask for it, but like a breakdown of the submittals, so we know kinda, instead of one number, I'd like to see them broken down by project, just so everyone knows.
Yeah, and this is where it
We need
came
to
from,
understand
and,
that,
yeah.
yeah.
That
Makes
would be
sense.
very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of that one big nut, you're like, oh my
Right.
god, and it's like, well, that went for the roof, and that's understandable.
And it came
the
from this
HVAC.
bucket, and this came
Right.
from that bucket, that makes sense.
If we could look at that every other board meeting even, it would be nice to see the progress and be able to ask some better questions as a result.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea, so yeah, for sure.
So how do we get that to happen so that we do have that to review when we go to the board meeting?
We bring it up at the prep meeting and we put it on my plate, and then that's what we organize to do on our end.
Alright, sounds good.
Plates grow.
Did you have anything else on the committees?
Under not under committees.
Did you?
Well said, thanks.
Alright, any new business? Jack. Before Jack talks, does anybody else have anything?
They say the same thing at Thanksgiving dinner.
Alright, go Jack.
Which table are you sitting at though?
Well, again, around cost, and again, I'm gonna make a motion tonight that we ask for any project over $5,000 or $10,000, the pleasure of the board, get identified 30 days in advance, because what I am seeing is, and I don't wanna go, I mean, I drive around Pollard and I see all the basement windows are failing. I see projects being done out here without understanding why they're being done. I think we have to be very conscientious how we're spending this money, where the money's going to, and I wanna put controls on it. I'm gonna ask policy to look at their policies around about things going out to bid at a certain number, and things that the purchase number being reduced, so we have more control over that. And as I had said before, I see $100,000, $50,000, I mean, that adds up very quickly to millions of dollars. And I'm very concerned, and I think we as a board, because it is our responsibility, need to put a few controls on there so we can identify what's being done, so somebody doesn't ask us and we don't have that answer. I think we earn the answer. The other thing under new business, and we pay for it, I had offered up an alternative to some assistance in our labor force. I haven't seen anything, and no return information about that. We asked for the care of grounds, the cutting of the grass to go off in an RFQ. I don't know if that happened. And these are things that we have limited labor force. I look at the fields, and I will tell you, I got a call from an elected official in the town of Atkinson, and I went out for what was gonna be an enjoyable day with 4 town fathers, and I heard endless stuff about the conditions of the fields, primarily baseball and softball. They're an embarrassment, and kids can't play on them, fathers can't go out and get their kids ready for college on them, and I am perplexed by that, and I will tell you, I am not happy, because I know that we have that in the budget to be maintained. And in our strategic plan, we talk about this campus being the hub of the district. And I want this to be I would rather have kids on a field and say our fields are worn out than to have them say, we can't play there and have to run off to Salem or Haverhill to go play. It's perplexing to me, and I'm not happy about it at all. I'm really mad, actually, because it's in the budget, we pay people to do it, and things like exploring that labor force that I offered up and putting out that RFQ to relieve the people that are here to do other work. And then I see projects being done around campus that all of a sudden I see a project over here and all of a sudden I see a project over there. And these aren't $5,000 or $10,000 projects. They're not general maintenance projects. They're substantial. At least that's what I've been told, and they seem substantial. This board has to know that that's going on, because that's coming out of those buckets of money. I'm pretty fed up, so.
You know,
I was just wondering if you read page 14 of the packet, which addresses the fields.
I didn't. What does it say?
The overall condition of the athletic fields, overall are great. There are still some bare and thin locations. Weather, hardest time to grow grass is the summer. They've applied 3 rounds of seed since June 14th.
So I'm not buying it, Bree, with all due respect.
I'm just letting you
Yeah, I know, but we've had rain every other day. If we're gonna have grass any year, it's gonna be this year. Talk to the coaches, and all you've gotta do is, well, when you walk outside tonight, look at the baseball field, they're mowing the infield. That is, and I used to have that place looking like Fenway Park.
So yeah, so I know, and
And I'll let it go at that.
yeah, but Bree is, regardless, sometimes having too much rain can also inhibit grass growth. Correct? So there's things, they're working, yes, the fields were, when at the end of the school year last year, they were in a very bad way, and Carl and his team have worked to get them better than what they were. They're not pristine, at some, high fancy place, but they are a lot better than what they were. But as what Bree has said, that there is some stuff in there. And
Explain the infields. I mean,
are you talking about the grass?
I'm talking about the base pads, where there's supposed to be no grass. They're actually mowing it.
Right, okay. But yeah, but back to you tried to make a motion and then we hit a lot of stuff.
Right.
So.
Sorry, I do that.
So, all right, so what are you back to your motion so we can.
Basically, I want a list of projects every month, 30 days in advance, so we know what's going on. I mean, I see things being done out there, and not that it wouldn't be my priority list, but it needs to be explained to us so we understand. So we're not spending 100,000 here or 50,000 there and saying, well, why isn't this being done? I struggle with a lot of that.
Is that different than the extensive list of projects that we got tonight?
Yeah.
So in what way? Cause I keep hearing, you're doing all this stuff, 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, as up to 1 million.
I'll give you
know
two
what
for
you're talking
instances. They took the wrap out behind the middle school, and put down loom. I don't know why. And in the same breath, I could either go to Pollard or I can go around this campus and find rotting wood that needs to be painted. Those are, you know, you need during the summer months, I mean, you get it, right? You need to take care of those things you can deal with during the summer. And the wrap has been there for as long as, for 20 years. So I'm just saying, we need to understand why things are being done and how much they cost.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot that's going on.
Yeah.
You know, across the district, a lot of the projects, a lot of this, in addition to all the custodians getting their buildings ready.
Yeah.
And they're not always having access to it and being shipped to different buildings, and trying to coordinate all that work.
I'm not talking
is
about
not-
that, I'm not
well,
talking about those
because
guys.
these are the same people that are doing your fields, these are the same people that are, you know, doing jobs to just maintain that aren't in your site because they're not major projects. So I think the conversation, your questions almost need to go, you know, to the superintendent's office,
And
have
back
them
to,
sit down, talk about, find out where
So
loose
back-
ends would be.
so back to my
But
point.
we talked about wanting to try to get, you know, an accounting of what's
Somebody-
going on,
Jack,
what
let
it
him finish.
costs, and a spreadsheet of all the projects and the forecasts for projects. It would help because nobody here has your answers.
No, and
Right.
but I wanna bring it up to the board, I made the motion, and I will say this, I wanted the RFQ, we voted on the RFQ to relieve some of that stress on the staff.
Well, I think
I
that's
also-
simple that we just give that and ask Justin to look into that.
Right, that's fair enough, and I also provided a source of labor.
And you also gave that to Justin to look into.
Right. Did we,
It's being looked into.
Mark?
So with the balance sheet or spreadsheet that we're going to be receiving, knowing where funds are coming from, that will help us keep track of the expenditures so that we're not caught unawares and it becomes more detailed.
of the work being done?
Of the work being done. Are you asking for our additive of that, maybe a hit list of expected projects over the next 30 days?
Thank you.
That's what you're looking for?
Bingo. You always clear it for me.
So perhaps it could be one document, this is what we've accomplished and this is what we're seeing and this is where we're gonna pull from.
And projected cost. Would that scratch all of your itches?
No, because what I have is, what we have is we have the CIP projects and the EEI projects for like the warrant article projects. But then there are other things being done that are above and beyond that. And those things just kind of spring up and all of a sudden something's being done and I'm like, okay. I wanna make sure that money's being allocated in the right places and that all of a sudden we're not spending $500,000 on stuff that we didn't know we were spending that $500,000 on. I mean, we should know that.
So projected upcoming projects with an
Yes,
estimated dollar value.
that's exactly what I said.
I just shortened it up.
So we can work together in the prep session to certainly produce that information.
Okay.
At a scheduled, routine, commonly expected time and day.
And
Perhaps we
create
could
some
tag-
sort of a document that can then just be updated.
Tag that with the bi-weekly updates.
Yeah.
Add that on to it.
That makes sense, because not only would be information, there'd be people here that could answer any follow-up questions.
That's,
Sounds good. Does anybody else have any other business? Seeing that there is none, we will be going into a non-public section under C. If I could have someone make that motion.
Make a motion that we enter non-public under 91-8:3, section C. I need to read it. Matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of other persons, et cetera, et cetera.
Bree, did you have something?
Do we have to like offer delegates again or?
No, we can just end the meeting.
A second.
Yeah, so the motion's been made and second. Would you please take a roll call? Shauna, sorry.
John Woodward. Jack Zapia.
yes.
Kristen Savage.
Yes.
Ethan Edson.
Yes.
Shauna Manthorn.
Yes.
Mark Sherwood.
Yes.
Kim McCormick.
Yes.
Bree Woodward.
Yes.
Paula Kane.
Yes.
I agree with Bree. I think you should just simply say. Do we have any further?
More
Before we do that, do we have any?
Before we enter, do we have any other delegates or individuals that have come before us? Seeing that there is none, we are not coming back after this. The meeting will be concluded, so. Thank you, everyone.
I just think it